ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's semi-final debate. My name is Mahiga and I'm the chairman of this debate. The timekeeper is Patrick Henschke. This debate will be judged by a panel of 3 adjudicators who are Mr. Priscillides, Ms. Khalid, Ms. Haranam. The topic of this debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. The affirmative team, seated to my right, is from Brighton Secondary School. The negative team, seated to my left, is from Pembroke. The speaking time for this debate is 4 minutes. A single warning bell will be sounded 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched off. I declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Naila Samik.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate tonight is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We, the affirmative team, strongly believe that this statement is true. We define driverless cars to mean, in accordance with Cambridge Dictionary, an automated four-wheeled vehicle that is powered by an engine and that can transport a small amount of people and is able to drive without the physical commands of a human, to a level that has not yet been invented. We define good to mean something that is approved and positive. We define an idea, as explained by dictionary.com, as a thought or concept that suggests possible things for the future. We acknowledge wheelie as a play on words meant to substitute the word really. To give more context to this debate, we are currently quite a few years off from this technology becoming a reality. According to synopsis.com, driverless cars rely on sensors, actuators, complex algorithms, machine learning systems, and powerful processors to execute self-driving. These cars would create and maintain maps of their surroundings based on a variety of sensors placed on different parts of the vehicle. Video cameras situated around the car would measure distances, detect road edges, and identify lane markings. Many companies such as Waymo, Tesla, and Apple are invested in manufacturing these cars, but realistically, we're looking at a few more decades before we can rule out human driving. Today, as first speaker, I will be talking to you about how in the future, driverless cars will reduce road risks and improve commuter safety. I will also be discussing how these improvements would be beneficial towards our economy and society. Our second speaker, Evelyn, will be talking about the benefits that driverless cars would provide for the elderly and those with disabilities. She will also explain how the efficiency of these cars will have a positive impact on our environment. Our third speaker, Michelle, will rebut and sum up our team case. I'm going to discuss 2 points. My first point is that driverless cars would reduce road risks and improve commuter safety. According to the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Communication, car crashes are devastatingly high, with 1,132 road deaths in Australia from December 2019 to November 2020. And what do we have to blame for this? Human error. Drink driving, speeding, fatigue, failure to wear a seatbelt, and being distracted. The National Road Safety Partnership Program has labelled these mistakes as the Fatal 5, the 5 most common causes of car crashes. Driverless cars won't make any of these errors. They won't be swayed by their friends into ordering another drink, won't check their phones for any new messages while on the road. The machines don't have feelings, and their fast reaction time will overwhelmingly decrease crashes and in turn fatalities. People make lots of mistakes. It's human nature after all. But there is no reason for us to put our lives on the line every day for simple commutes. And, when technology is advanced enough, driverless cars will easily take over this responsibility for us, effectively saving lives. Now to my second point, that the progression of driverless car technology will help our economy and society. This is because, according to a report on securing America's future energy.com, an estimated $800 billion will annually contribute to economic and societal benefits when autonomous vehicles are implemented thoroughly throughout the world. Some benefits mentioned are cost savings related to reduced crashes, fuel efficiency, and better access to transportation. These funds can go towards other projects, departments, and government priorities, even providing assets for investing in the future of technology and transport and indirectly supporting the development of an even safer driverless car. This would create an incredibly helpful cycle that would in theory power and support itself. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the affirmative team believe that driverless cars are a one-way ticket to a better and safer future on roads. The reliability really is unmatchable. Finally, in the words of Elon Musk, self-driving cars are the natural extension of active safety, and obviously something we should do. Thank you.
negative speaker, William Wu.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team. However, we, the negative team, know that this statement is false. Tonight, as first speaker, I'll be talking to you about developing a false sense of security based on an imperfect technology, and full driverless vehicles have not progressed in aviation for good reasons. Our second speaker will be talking about how car companies can invade your privacy and how the transition into driverless cars will not be worth it. Our third speaker will rebut in sum up our team case. The first speaker of the affirmative team has tried to tell you that computers are safer than human drivers. This is wrong because it is simply not true. In September 2021, US National Law Review looked at this data and published that on average, there are 9.1 self-driving car accidents per million miles driven, whereas only 4.1 crashes per million miles for regular cars. That is more than double the number of crashes for self-driving cars. I will be discussing 2 points. My first point is that technology is imperfect, and we will develop a false sense of security based on an imperfect technology. The technology is imperfect. Technology is prone to cyber attacks. In 2015, hackers remotely took over a Jeep's driverless system and forced it to stop on a highway. Imagine the potential for exploitation for terrorism, kidnapping, and even murder. In 2020, a AAA study found that in real-world driving, vehicles with active driving assistance experienced an issue with every 8 miles and instantly disengaged, requiring the driver to resume control without warning. In 2016, a truck crossed a highway with a Tesla's autopilot failed to distinguish the white side of a truck from the brightly lit sky. The car drove in the truck at full speed. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration determined that the occupant had the opportunity to brake before the collision, but had failed to do so, over-relying on the driverless car technology. Cars are marketed as driverless, but drivers are required to be alert and ready to take over control at a moment's notice. But how likely is that when the driverless car was purchased to be, well, driverless? Now, my second point is that a vehicle operating entirely without a human operator is also known as a level 5 automation is not a good idea. Lawrence Spree invented the first autopilot for planes in 1912. However, air travel has never progressed to level 5 automation for good reasons. Driverless automation relies heavily on programming and computer learning. This may work if everyone drove predictably. However, in real life, driving is extremely unpredictable with too many variables to program. What to do if there's a brake failure and you are faced to running into a 90-year-old man or a 3-year-old child? The human mind will instinctively swerve to save the 3-year-old child. Will the computer do the same? Aviation authorities around the world, including Civil Aviation Safety Authorities of Australia, has mandated that at least 2 crew members must remain in the cockpit at all times to keep an eye on the autopilot. The pilot must be ready to take over at a moment's notice. Computer systems malfunction. How many times in the last 12 months has your computer frozen and you've had to restart it? Imagine if that happened to you while you were in a driverless car going 100 kilometers per hour. Automation does not drive the car. The drivers drive the car with the help of automation. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we, the negative team, know that a completely driverless car is not a good idea. Thank you.
second affirmative speaker, Evelyn Greer.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We, the affirmative team, strongly agree. The first negative speaker has said that imperfect tech gives a false sense of security. He also said that there are more crashes with driverless cars. And we agree, this technology is not perfect. It is not complete. But it is an idea, and in the future, it will be really good. Our first speaker, Naila, has spoken to you about the safety of autonomous cars. She also informed you of the benefits this brings to the economy and society. Tonight, as second speaker, I will talk about how driverless cars are beneficial to those with a disability as well as senior citizens. I will also explain how driverless cars mean efficiency with less traffic, an increase in electric car use, reduced emissions, and therefore it has an overall benefit on the environment. My first point is that driverless cars would give many of the elderly people and people with disabilities a more independent form of transport that would improve their quality of life. There are many people who are discussing the benefits that an accessible and fully automated car could have for people with disabilities and the elderly. According to the US National Center for Biotechnology Information, transportation is an extremely important policy issue for those with disabilities. Over the last 2 decades, the National Organization on Disability has conducted 3 Harris polls reporting that transportation issues are a crucial concern for those with disabilities. An article in the Washington Post from 2017 focused on how driverless cars could be helpful to people with a disability and the elderly. It said that if there was an accessible design implemented, there would be significant benefit. Autonomous vehicles mean significantly more independence for the Down syndrome community, said Ashley Helsing, Director of Government Relations at the National Down Syndrome Society. While blind people get around using mass transit and other things, we don't have the flexibility that the autonomous vehicles will present, said John G. Paré Jr., Executive Director for Advocacy and Policy at the U.S. National Federation of the Blind. America's Coalition for Future Mobility states that people with disabilities like the blind are capable of self-sufficiency, and highly automated vehicles can help them live the life they want, and that these vehicles can also enhance independence for seniors. There are many unknowns as to how driverless cars would operate, whether cars would be owned by individuals or operated like taxis or Ubers, but the general consensus is that no matter how, these cars would greatly assist those who currently have to rely on others to travel. The benefits that the driverless car would bring to such a large number of people undoubtedly confirms that they are a good idea, a really good idea. Now to my second point, that driverless cars would be a more efficient transport, and this would have a positive impact on the environment. When looking towards the future of transport, one must also be aware of the environmental impacts and benefits that the technologies will have to our planet. Driverless cars have great potential to reduce the huge negative impact that the transport sector has on global emissions and our environment in general. A study from the University of Cambridge found that driverless cars working together to keep traffic moving smoothly can improve overall traffic flow by 35%. Michigan University-led research focused on maximizing the environmental benefits of autonomous vehicles. The results of their study found that when savings from driving efficiencies associated with self-driving cars are factored into the equation, the net result is a reduction in lifetime energy use and associated greenhouse gas emissions of up to 9%. Any reduction in emissions to our Earth is an investment in our futures. Driverless cars may also reduce the need for multiple cars per household, as they would be able to get people where they needed to be without someone behind the wheel. According to the environmental organization Securing America's Future Energy, self-driving cars will participate in a rapid shift away from traditional gasoline cars, accelerating the adoption of electric vehicles. Autonomous cars will result in reduced congestion, less oil consumption, enhanced access, increased time, and less transportation costs. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, driverless cars would assist the elderly and many people with disabilities, and they would have a positive impact on our environment. It is clear that driverless cars are a really good idea. Thank you.
second negative speaker, Jason Koenig.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for this debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We, the negative team, strongly disagree with this statement. The affirmative team's second speaker has tried to tell you that driverless cars will help the disabled. We agree with this statement. However, there are also many better ways for the disabled to get around. For one, people with disabilities can use public transport, such as buses or trams, which in Australia are very high quality. Yes, public infrastructure doesn't allow them total freedom, but it will be magnitudes cheaper than buying a driverless car. Furthermore, if someone lacks the physical capabilities to drive a car, then wouldn't it be helpful to have someone with them to help them outside of the car? I'll be discussing 2 points tonight. My first point is that driverless cars will open up a new avenue for cyber attacks. My second point is on how big automobile companies can now spy on every step you take. Hacking is a major concern of the 21st century. According to PurpleSec, a cybersecurity organization, the amount of malware infections this year has reached 1 billion, 67 times greater than that in 2009. Hackers have a whole arsenal of viruses to use. The most malicious of them can allow hackers to remotely operate someone's device and control it at will. Imagine the devastation this causes if a hacker takes control of your car. They can either send it off a cliff, hold you ransom on the road, or kidnap you by rerouting the car. According to the European Union, this malware can be bought for only $30 on the black market. The ease at which common people can do this and the danger that it poses cannot be understated. One might point to antivirus softwares. However, hacking technology would only improve in the future. The vulnerability to cyber attacks severely outweighs the safety benefits that driverless cars bring. Yes, driverless cars are convenient, but they also open up a new corridor for destructive criminal activity. My second point is on how big automobile companies can now monitor your every step. In the world of the 21st century, surveillance and the misuse of personal information is also a major problem. Facebook was hacked in 2021, and it was revealed that Facebook has stolen the personal information of 533 million of its users. This includes people's addresses, emails, and even their behavioral habits. According to an investigation by Privacy Australia, Facebook then sells this data to government agencies and other such organizations for them to conduct mass psychological experiments, create targeted political ads, and even to spy on the public. By being in a driverless car, your position would always be disclosed to the autonomous car company. Imagine what these companies could do with this data. They will take surveillance an extra step further. They know every step you have ever taken and can predict every step that you will ever take. The US, the UK, and Australia have all launched criminal investigations into Facebook, but all of them were unsuccessful. Tech giants are now above the law. They control our lives by analyzing our behavior, feeding us cherry-picked information, and conducting mass surveillance. If driverless cars are going to be a thing, then it'll be the first step in creating an Orwellian world, a dystopia, a place where you are constantly watched, a place where the elite have a monopoly on people's lives, a place devoid of privacy. Do we really want this? Now to recap. My first point argued how the threat of cyber attacks on driverless cars severely outweighs the safety benefits they bring. My second point was on how driverless cars watch your every step and can turn us into a surveillance state. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman, in conclusion, that is why we, the negative team, strongly believe that driverless cars are not a really good idea. Thank you.
I call upon third affirmative speaker, Michelle Lane.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of tonight's debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We, the affirmative team, undoubtedly believe this statement to be true. The first negative speaker has tried to tell you that driverless cars would not be as safe as the cars we currently have. However, as our first speaker has already mentioned, this is untrue and in fact the opposite. While the idea of not having control over the wheel may seem unsafe, it has been proven that the majority of accidents on the road are the result of human error. According to Budget Direct, last year, speeding was the most common cause of car crashes. A driverless car would follow the road safety rules and wouldn't speed, or drink and drive and check on their phone. Therefore, driverless cars are actually safer than the cars we currently use. He also tried to tell you that driverless cars are not safe at all. This is incorrect. These cars are programmed to follow the safety laws put in place to keep us safe. Since the cars will follow these laws, they will be safe. Our first speaker... This makes driverless cars much safer than manual cars. Defining the safety of these cars by only looking at the cons and completely ignoring the pros will not provide a fair nor reasonable overview on this car. He also tried to tell you that driverless cars can malfunction, which makes them a bad idea. Although these cars, as well as all other machines, are prone to malfunctioning, it doesn't mean that they are bad. Phones can freeze and calculators can miscalculate. These small inconveniences do not make them any less of a great idea, and they make our lives much easier. So why should it be different for driverless cars? He also tried to tell you that we are using imperfect technology. I agree with this. Although this is true, humans are also imperfect. As the machines cause less accidents because they do not have human error, and even if they are not perfect, they are much safer. The second negative speaker has said that public transport is better for disabled people. However, there is no denying that public transport is an issue for those with disabilities, and many people do not want to rely on buses all the time. Buses and trains and other forms of public transport can be overcrowded. This may make the disabled people feel uncomfortable. And also, not everyone, unfortunately, are nice to those who are disabled. These driverless cars provide a safer and more private area for these disabled people. They give these people independence. He also tried to tell you that there is a security risk with driverless cars. This point contains a casual fallacy. There is no proof that companies violate privacy of the customers. They are simply assuming the worst possible outcomes of these cars. Our first affirmative speaker has already informed you that driverless cars will improve road safety, seeing as they are less prone to causing accidents. She also spoke to you about how the reassured safety of these cars can benefit our economy and society in many ways, including saving money on road repairs and using that money on other more important things. Our second speaker has explained that driverless cars are more convenient and accessible for elder and less able people, as well as the fact that these autonomous cars are much better for the environment. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, we the affirmative team wholeheartedly believe and know that driverless cars are an amazing idea. These cars not only improve road safety, benefit the economy, provide more independent transport options, improve car efficiency, and help cut down emission rates, but also provides more environmentally friendly vehicle options. These automated car vehicles will drive us on the road of success and lead us towards a brighter, roaring future. These driverless cars are undeniably really good ideas. Thank you.
on the third negative speaker, Zachary Yee.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that driverless cars are a really good idea. We, the negative team, believe this statement to be false. I will first rebut some of the affirmative team's arguments and then summarise our team's case. The affirmative team's first speaker has tried to tell you that driverless cars will be safer. These cars are completely dependent on everything working together. Even a minor glitch in these cars could cause a far worse accident than anything human error might typically cause. In fact, a study completed by the University of Michigan's Transportation Research Institute reported that for every million miles driven in driverless cars, 9.1 crashes occurred, as opposed to the 4.1 crashes of vehicles driven by human cars. This is over double. This system also becomes more dangerous for pedestrians, as, unlike humans, driverless vehicles cannot give pedestrians the wave to let them know they can pass, as well as signal to them to let them into traffic. This is very important, as, without it, it could mean people may be stuck waiting for heavily prolonged periods of time, or could even cross the road at the wrong time, resulting in possible injury. Whilst this technology will continue to get better and better, it just can't keep up with modern day society and the humans' unpredictable ways. What happens if someone does get hurt? Is it the driver's fault, the manufacturer's fault, the mechanic's fault? What happens if someone makes something incorrectly? What happens if someone hacks the system, as pointed out by our second speaker? Would they have the power to wipe out the now billions of people on the road? The affirmative team's second speaker has tried to tell you that it will save money. Whilst this all sounds great, the affirmative team has forgotten one key detail. Self-driving cars would simply be unaffordable to most, with an estimated $130,000 to $150,000 price range. This seems nearly impossible to buy for most, considering that, as seen from statistics from World Population Review, the world's average pay is $9,773 a year. This means only the very wealthy will be able to afford these luxury cars. Also, the road systems are going to have to be altered, which is going to cost a pretty penny. Considering governments worldwide are in trillions of dollars of debt, this is simply not affordable. Even if prices do go down, with the complex system in cars, they would still stay far more expensive than non-driverless cars. This affirmative team's second speaker has tried to tell you that it will assist with people who have disabilities. We already have great services available for people with disabilities, like taxis, Ubers, public transport, and even helpers. Although these driverless cars would be most likely be unaffordable to people with disabilities, and helpers would be a much better option for them. Also, people with disabilities may not be able to cope or get out of a car, let alone quickly if they need to. The affirmative team's second speaker has tried to tell you that it is better for the environment. Electric cars are an excellent prospect, but driverless cars are not. It will be electrifying cars, not driverless cars, that will be beneficial to the environment. Even better is to get people out of the cars altogether by improving public transport and bicycle lanes. Now I'll summarise our team's case. Our first speaker, William, spoke to you about how this system develops a false sense of security. This is because people may expect everything to work completely, but in reality, it won't. He also spoke to you about how fully driverless cars have not progressed in aviation. Vehicles have not progressed in aviation for a good reason. This is because it's simply too dangerous. Our second speaker, Jason, spoke to you about how big automobile companies could monitor your every step. This is because they'll have access to hundreds of cameras. He also spoke to you about the cybersecurity risk. This is because hackers are becoming more and more capable, and if they hack a car, they could kill many people just from a computer. Think of driverless cars being similar to your computer. Think of how many times it has done something you don't want it to do. Now imagine if that happens to a car in traffic with hundreds of people around it. The results would be catastrophic. You would not let your computer dictate your life, so why let a car? Thank you.
We now come to question time. For the next 10 minutes, teams are invited to take turns to ask each other questions about the debate. That is, the affirmative team will ask a question to the negative team, then the affirmative team, and so on. A team is free to indicate if they have no questions. I now invite the affirmative team to ask its first question.
We were just wondering how you saw the aviation
was relevant to cars when aviation hasn't started developing the technology. Do you see like a direct link there? Or I guess
We-
that's a question.
We thought that they were very similar because fact is, aviation, obviously, they do have an autopilot and they do have like a driverless feature, but the thing about that is that the reason that they don't have fully driverless, the reason that there always has to be someone ready is because it's simply not reliable enough. And we thought that this directly linked to the topic because they're both driverless features, and in fact, if a plane crashed, that would actually kill hundreds of people, or potentially kill hundreds of people. So we thought this directly linked to driverless cars because they're both, I guess, autopilot type thing. And then we also thought that it would actually be worse if a plane crashed.
Cool. Plane crashes would not be nice.
I think.
Negative team, yep. If you have a question.
Yep. For the first speaker, can you like list your source of reference with like how driverless cars are like safer than regular cars?
Yes. Give me a second look. Yeah, there are a few, but like, so through the National Road Safety Partnership Program, like that labeled that like all of the common like reasons, for fatalities on roads were like human error and had nothing to actually do with the machines in for the car itself. Okay, so for the next speaker, I realised that you introduced a few new ideas in your rebuttals, like it being too expensive. I was wondering what point were you rebutting exactly? Because we had not mentioned it in our speech.
So I believe you did say for the economy and the money, and I thought, or I believe that it's directly, the money aspect and the economy, they're directly linked. And I also, I guess, brought in also for general people to that point, which actually had been mentioned by our other speakers that they were going to be expensive, and I kind of just mentioned that whilst it's also going to be, whilst we believe there's also going to be harmful effects to the economy because it's going to be expensive to change the roads, it's also going to be expensive for the consumers, so for the economy, it's going to be...
Yeah, that's about 3 minutes.
Okay. Yes.
I'll read this evening's chairman's notices. Would you like to be an adjudicator for primary school debates in 2022? Adjudicating is a great community service and will help improve your own debating. See the information desk for more information about how to sign up. We're delighted that grand finals will be held in the House of Assembly Chamber, Parliament House on Saturday, 25th September 2021. Parliament House has advised that we need to collect RSVPs for attendance. An online RSVP form is available on our website now. There is a formal security screening process to enter Parliament House. To avoid delays in start time, please allow plenty of time to arrive and give priority to entry to debaters and adjudicators. All grand finalists will be invited to the award presentations to be held on Friday, 29th October 2021, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Sacred Heart College, Iceland campus. Further information will be sent to the school shortly. I invite a representative of the adjudication panel to come forward to announce the result.
So we will just be 1 second because we have to figure out what the result is. We've each scored the debate individually, so we're just going to collate those results and also figure out who the debating award will be awarded to. So we'll just be 1 second.
I kept putting my foot in and remembering, Yeah, I saw you do That was me, but a long sort of argument as to why they were released. It went, okay, we said this, and then this was like this, this was like this. It was like a long stretch of time before we got to the relational
I'm putting more pressure on. I teach Nazareth. All our hopes resting on you now, girls.
And how bad it wasn't bad, it just wasn't very. I invite a representative of the adjudication panel to come forward to announce the result.
Okay, this is kind of, yeah, there's not really like a front I can come stand out at, so sorry audience, I'm going to kind of ignore you and kind of stand here so I can put all of the debaters. So firstly, on behalf of the three adjudicators here, I'd like to congratulate both teams on making it to the semi-finals. This is an achievement of itself and you should both be really proud of yourselves. I think I speak for all of us when I say that we thought it was a really high quality debate, so well done. So you will have noticed that there are three of us, so what that means is that tonight there is no individual feedback. I'm simply going to announce the winner of this debate, whether it was a unanimous or split decision, and also we have a debating award to give out. So tonight I'm pleased to announce that by a decision of 2-1, we have awarded the debate to the negative team. Congratulations. Additionally, tonight I can announce that we have awarded the debating award to first affirmative speaker, Nezla, for quality of argument.
I call upon a member of the runner-up team to give a vote of thanks. Okay.
I'd like to say a big thank you to the audience for coming out and supporting us. I'd like to say a big thank you to the opposition. You guys did so well. I'm so excited to see you go into the grand final. Thank you for the chairman and the timekeeper for manning and timekeeping. And then thank you for the adjudicators for adjudicating. And yeah, thank you. And yeah, thanks.
I call upon a member of the bidding team to second the vote of thanks.
Firstly, we'd like to thank Brighton Secondary School so much. That was a great debate. That could have gone either way, and I'm very, very shocked. I would like to thank Nazareth for hosting this event. I would like to thank all three of the adjudicators for doing such a good job. I would like to thank all of the audience for coming out and watching us throughout this whole season. It's probably been tough coming to getting home at 10 o'clock sometimes. And the chairman and the timekeeper for doing the rules so well tonight. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I now declare this debate closed.